What did Bon Richard tell us? Well, concerning our cut shot here, it told us at 15 yards could sometimes produce a killing pattern. At 20 yards, no shot at all registered on the target. At 25 yards, a very few shot registered on the target. So if you had to use cut shot, you were limited to very close range. And there was a degree of luck involved. What happened in the shot cup and in the barrel? If you had a large, heavy piece of shot located in the bottom of your shot charge, and it was rectilinear, and it was being fired up the barrel and out of the barrel and through the rest of the shot, it would have a higher velocity than the smaller shot above it, and literally would go through the shot column, pushing and bouncing the others out of the way. If you're going to load mixed sizes of shot, you want your heavier, larger shot here up on top, not on bottom. This will give you tighter patterns. What to do? I have heavy shot. There was a little shot drift over in this direction, as you can see, but even aiming at center, yes, that would have killed a turkey at 20 yards. Yes, that can be effective. This is Hovey Smith, the Backyard Sportsman, and we are turkey hunting today. And this is the first time I've really been out turkey hunting this season. I've been busy with trying to get a couple of books out. And this has been a wet, drippy, chilly day today in central Georgia. Yesterday it was 80 degrees. Today it's 50 degrees. And it rained lightly during the night. It's been raining lightly most of the morning and supposed to continue like this all day practically. And so we're setting up in a blind. Now I was really planning to bring Bon Richard out today, but it's just too wet and too damp to risk that gun in wet weather, being a flintlock muzzleloader. So consequently, we have brought another gun. Long Tom here. This is a single shot Stevens. It was done probably in the 1930s, 2 3/4 inch 12 gauge full choke. And Long Tom, yes, it's got a 36-inch barrel on it. And this was a very sophisticated gun in its day. It's an auto ejection. It has a top lever, and it has killed turkeys before in Idaho as well as in Georgia. And the reason I take this gun is to illustrate that you don't need the fanciest equipment in the world to shoot a turkey with. Yes, you can use it, but really you can shoot most of your turkeys with almost any 12 gauge gun, including muzzleloaders. and many muzzle loaders that aren't 12 gauge for that matter. But this is wet weather hunting. Now, one problem with wet weather hunting when you use box calls like this is when they get wet, they change pitch and tones. Now this one's still pretty dry and still pretty good. You'd still get a high pitched tone out of it. Now Mystic Game Calls some years ago made a no chalk box call. And this has abrasive material on it, and the paddle is more or less waterproof in as much as you can waterproof wood. And it continues to give good high-pitched calls which will carry a long ways, even when they're damp. Okay, so that's one way to go when it's wet weather, particularly if you're a box call guy like I am mostly. Now another way to go is with striker calls. This is one I made out of a turtle shell and an old piece of roofing slate. Yet another traditional call that'll work is a wing bone call like this. Now this is made from the wing bone of a hen turkey. So turkeys will sometimes respond to this. And well, turkeys will sometimes respond to almost anything. What does this .45 caliber 1911 pistol have to do with turkey hunting? Well, it has to do with coyotes. We got them. They will sometimes come to call, and when they come to call, I take them. This happened several years ago, and we took an adult coyote, the boss coyote, with this particular gun. And so this is the reason we have that. The shadows are starting to get long in the food plot. This is the time our turkeys ought to be tromping towards home. Well, the clouds are starting to get a pink tinge to them now. And the sun is going down, and it's time that our turkey should be going to roost. Haven't heard anything yet, though, and haven't seen anything. Well, we're very nearly sunset now, and I think I'm going to start pulling out. We've been ready, but we haven't heard anything, or certainly not seen anything today. Because it was wet, I needed to sand and chalk my box call, and this piece of chalk is actually from real natural stone. You can see the little holes, those are normal. And yeah, this is a piece of actual chalk rock that we use. And this was once what all chalks were. The nice blackboard chalks have been ground and reconsolidated, but this is the real deal. Bon Richard and I are set up in a blind, and we're overlooking a small food plot This has been a productive food plot traditionally for turkeys. Say I'm looking at 12 o'clock here. I've had turkeys come in at 7 o'clock, at 9 o'clock, at 11 o'clock, at 3 o'clock, and at 5 o'clock on this particular plot over the years. I have 3 decoys out that you'll see in a second. And we are now at about 5 o'clock. So we're going to be here until dark. The chances are about 10 to 1 against having any turkeys coming in to this evening, to this particular plot at this time of day. But we're going to sit here to see if we can hear some fly downs or some cackles. At least get an idea about exactly where they're going to roost tonight, so we can set up there in the morning and increase our odds from 10 to 1 to perhaps 5 to 1 against. And so we're going to play that game. Bon Richard and I have been hunting another location. This morning at second sleep, I had a dream that my hunting buddy was standing over my bed dressed in full camo gear for turkey hunting, and I wasn't ready. Well, I decided that was premonition enough that I ought to get out in the woods. So I finished up what I had to do and came on out this morning, and I've spent 4 hours in the stand and not seen anything, although the hens have been active a little bit. I've called to some and talked to some. Now we've got our decoys down below us there, and there are 3 of them. And this is a good location because we have several cleared roads and travel paths, actually 4. 5, really, converging on this particular spot. And what I'm sitting in is about a 15-foot tall ladder stand strapped to a pine tree. Well, and sitting here and looking at the situation a bit, I'm in the wrong place. And I've got some of the wrong stuff on. For one thing, I put on white socks. For another, I did not bring a rope to hoist the gun. So I had to rig up with the straps I had to hoist it up here to the stand. And over there is my brother-in-law's old built-up stand. I haven't been in that stand. I don't think I ever have. But I think it's time to take a look at it and see if it's potentially useful. Because in my present circumstance, I would be certainly more concealed than I am now, and could still shoot out fairly well, both in that direction as well as beneath me, and to a lesser extent over here. Now I don't doubt that there are probably some wasps in there, and have been for years. So we're going to cautiously go in and investigate that. But I think now is as good a time as any to get down from here. The idea of coming back and rehabilitating that blind is a good one. I cut away so I could climb up that aluminum ladder to get in it. And the blind itself seems to be structurally solid, but it has 2 terrible big rat's nest in there, or squirrel nest, either way. And it's full of rat droppings and so on and so on and so on. So I'm going to have to come in here and put a mask on and get gloves on and give that thing just a damn good cleaning. before I plan to spend any time in there. But the location is good, and so next time we come, we'll come early enough to clean out that blind and get our decoys out again and put them to work. Last time around, Bon Richard and I were in that tree stand right there, and I thought myself somewhat exposed. And so we have since cleaned out and relocated into an old built-up stand and sort of mucked it out somewhat. It was terrible. And I got out about 2 5-gallon buckets worth of leaves and chewed seed and acorns out of it, and wasp nest and wasp and so on and so on and so on and so on. But at any rate, we have sat in it for 4 hours today. And it's now getting later in the afternoon, and I've got some other stuff to do. So we're going to have to pull out. But looking around, you can see some cleared areas, which are good. And even extending over out the other window. So we've got a good field of view. Despite being told to stay home, a certain individual decided he wanted to join me on my evening hunt. Well, it's too late to take him back, and it's too far. So I'll just sit here and listen for a while. Bon Richard and I have had the most successful hunt yet this season. This is a friend's property. We left the house at 6 o'clock. We got here about half an hour later. By the time we got our stuff together, heard gobbles down this way. So pursued it down, so moved down towards the creek and set up. And he has recently planted food plots, and he also planted his road, or roads. And there you see a decoy out in the middle of one of his planted roads. And then I have 2 more. One over here and one over there in the clearer woods. And there is a pasture that's another guy's land. Now when we got here, there were toms calling from that patch of woods over across the pasture. So I set up here in hopes I could drag something in. Well, that didn't work. And then apparently the gobbler moved and moved and moved and moved. And so I next heard him over there, still down in the creek. And then finally again, either it or another one over in that direction, moving up the hill. So we're about to pull out and relocate. Well, this is my last hunt of the year, I think, on a friend's property. And I'm sitting at the edge of a food plot and pines, and the pines have been burned out recently, which is good. And I'm sitting here with my locator calls, talking to crows and owls. But thus far, one very distant gobble over to my right that's actually off the property. But at least I've heard one, waiting for others. We began this turkey season with Bon Richard shooting cut shot. And now at the end of season, we're also going to end with it shooting at a target. And in this case, we have our load of 1 1/8 ounce of heavy shot. And there are some scattered hits on the target from previous shooting, but of course the center paste of the target is blank. So we shall see. While certainly not the tightest target I've ever seen, if a turkey had been standing there with its head in the middle of the crosshairs, we would have had 1, 2, 3 hits in the immediate head area, 1 lower down in the neck, and this with heavy shot. This is not the most reliable target I've ever shot, but yeah, this would have got him, guys.